What up and welcome back. I'm Jane, the plainest Jane, and I serve in the form of Black news and celebrity entertainment over here on this channel. Come on in, okay? We got some Black celebrity updates, so to speak. Listen, y'all know things are always sticky in Hollywood and in real life. Come on in, get a seat on the bus. We're a little early for the bus tonight, are we not? Now, we was 14 minutes late from our scheduled time, but we're still early because we usually be coming on 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. Yesterday, I went live 2 o'clock in the morning. I think it was 2, 3 in the morning, something like that. Nonetheless, come on in, find a seat on the bus, and pay your fare. It's absolutely free to support the channel and hit thumbs up. Listen, we need to talk. We need to talk, okay? Y'all know things are always sticky in Hollywood and in real life. You know this, you know this, you know this. It's my tagline. Thank you for dropping the pancakes in the chat. Keep them coming in. Thank you so much, okay? Now, I've been waiting to talk on this subject. I've had my own thoughts. We chat about this in Discord. We've been getting down to it in Discord, talking about it. But today is the day where some information and some news dropped, where I said, okay, you know, I don't even have to publicly ride the fence anymore or whatever, because now I have a stance. And now this is making sense where I can definitively pick a side and speak on it. We're going to open up the phone lines as well to allow you to call in. And you don't have to agree with me to call in, right? So Jonathan Majors, we've all seen this guy. He's been thrusted to the front of media. He's starting a lot of things, you know, Creed 3, Lovecraft Country, Marvel's got some stuff going on with him. Now, he's been acting for quite some time, but he just got his like official pop, his push on the front of magazines. It almost seemed like they were shoving him down our throats, okay? Like you couldn't miss him, right? And he's pretty infamous and known in the last 2 or 3 months since he's really popped and surged to the top for that pursed lip that he always has, okay? It's always looking like, it's always looking like that. But these text messages that were released today via his own counsel, via his attorneys, they really shut down all doubt. And I'm wondering if his attorneys hate him. They must hate him. They have to hate him. Why are they moving this way? I guess they thought they were going to clear the air, right? With these text messages, and they were going to prove something, his innocence. Baby, that's not what it gave. That's not what it gave at all. We're going to get into the stickiness of this syrup. Okay. This has been a very polarizing conversation, right? Because you got some people who took it at face value and said, hey, the initial allegations at face value and said, hey, he's an abuser. This is disgusting. He needs to pay for his crimes. And then you had some people who, y'all are trying to tear down the Black man. Anytime a Black man gets successful, y'all want a dog pile on him. I'm standing with him. And then you had some people, you know, some Black women who were like, listen, this ain't our fight. He don't even like or date our kind, right? So there's a lot of different layers and nuances that we need and that we are going to get into within this conversation, because it's been a very tangled web, okay? As far as the information that we got, do we have the truth of what happened that evening, right? I feel like we don't necessarily have the truth. We have a thread of innuendos and clues, right? But I've been leery from the beginning, especially speaking out and trying to, you know, villainize him, speak down on him, bash him and hold him accountable for something that we really don't have any evidence of, especially because the accusation was coming from what? A white woman. Can we really believe this? Right? There's so many different layers to this. So I've been leery of rushing to believe either in any of these sides. Okay? And so when I say that, I mean, I'm sitting up here looking like this. This is what I'm looking like. I'm like, I don't believe none of this. I can't take any of what any of y'all are saying. I can't take the woman and what she's saying as 100% fact. I can't take Jonathan as what he's saying as 100% fact. And I damn sure can't take his attorney and what his attorney is saying as 100% fact. I'm sitting here looking like, I got to take all of y'all with a grain of salt and figure out how I feel about this with no evidence, no solid fact. Okay. So this is how I've been feeling about it, right? On the surface, I had my inklings and my instincts, but I said, you know what? We really need to wait. We really need to wait. I wouldn't publicly speak out about this until I had more information. And baby, today is that day. Today's that day. Make sure y'all hit thumbs up. I got my favorite color on. You know, my favorite color is purple. Shout out to the people who send things to the P.O. box. Okay. It's listed down below in the description box. But nonetheless, hit thumbs up. We're going to get into it. I want to break some things down. And I'm really anxious to open the phone lines. Hopefully, there are a couple of people who really have some passionate thoughts and feelings about this. And I really do think that some people will. Because we're talking about potential situations of abuse or domestic violence. This was his girlfriend, after all, who accused him of this, right? So buckle your seatbelts. We're gonna get into it, okay? Y'all know I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it a buck. So you might not agree, but I'm gonna tell you how I feel, and I'm picking up on these clues, and that's what we're going to discuss today. Okay? Are y'all feeling all right? We're 8 minutes in. We're warming up a little bit, okay? We're going to be into the nitty-gritty by 10 minutes. I'll go back and I'll add my time stamps, but we're getting warmed up, okay? Okay, I see the purple hearts for my favorite color, but also for Kiva. This is like her, like, I would say, quote-unquote, official channel emoji. Come get this commentary, Kiva. Purple hearts are her signature, but purple is definitely my favorite color. Nonetheless, y'all, hit thumbs up. Shout out to everybody in the live chat. Shout out to my moderators. Shout out to my channel members. Let's get ready for takeoff. Y'all know we did a post earlier on the community tab earlier where we were laughing and joking earlier today. So definitely shout out to the channel members. And listen, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into what we need to discuss here today on the channel. Drop your pancakes, hit thumbs up, and let's go.
The plainest Jane. This is one of my favorite comments here. She says, I loves me some black, and she said, loves me some black news. She says, is it just me, or does anyone else get tired of seeing people that don't look like them delivering info about them day in and day out?
All right, so here's where I'll start, because we do have some things to talk about since I think this news broke Friday of last week. So it's almost been about a week, right? Friday. Yeah, about Friday, right? Because I left for Virginia Thursday night. Yeah, it was about Friday. So I was watching these updates as they came in, Friday or Saturday, but I think it was Friday of last week, right? And a lot of people took his attorney's word as bond, okay? A lot of people did. And here's the problem with that. You know, a lot of people, first we get, let me go ahead and get to the right screen here. Okay. A lot of people took this headline and they ran with it, right? Some people, actor Jonathan Majors arrested for assault. His spokesperson denies wrongdoing, right? And then his attorney comes out and says, we're denying all these allegations. We've got evidence that's going to prove that he's innocent, right? And then we got to the point where his attorney released a statement and said, listen, this woman has recanted her statement. She's recanted it. And people took that as fact and they ran with it. Oh, you see why this is so important? Not to tear, a black brother down, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like a lot of people forget the reality of what an attorney is supposed to do. They're supposed to defend. Hello? Are attorneys not supposed to defend? They're supposed to make public statements to exonerate and to make their client look innocent. And so, of course, they're going to come out and create these strong statements, right? So, of course, they're denying the allegations and saying my client is innocent. You don't pay an attorney to say my client is guilty. Hello? So people took that as bond, and they said, not only do we have one statement from her, we've got two statements from her that she has recanted this. And we've got video footage from the Uber / taxi, whatever the car share thing was, right? That's also going to prove that he's innocent. And we've got witness testimony from the Uber or taxi driver that's proving that he's innocent. And so just to give you just a synopsis before we get into it, because I'm about to get straight into the text messages, because that's what we really here for, right? Okay. There was a 911 call. The police arrive and they say, okay, he did something to you, strangulation. We see, things around her neck. We see bruises, so much so that she needed to be transported to the hospital. Okay. So you know what? Let's get right into these text messages, and then we're going to take it back a little bit and get into the narrative, right? And look, thank y'all for being here. That almost 300 of us here right now. We got 127 thumbs up. That's great. Don't make me call Jaguar right to visit y'all in y'all sleep. But nonetheless, let's get into these text messages. And to be completely honest with you, if you are looking for ways to support the show, consider hitting the like button, okay? Or you can send a cash app, $THA, plainestjane. Make sure you spell it right. Not required, but appreciated. It's just an option. You don't have to. For free, just hit the button or subscribe. Now, I want to get into these text messages before I really get into breaking down this narrative. That's what we're going to do. And I do see that there are people joining the membership and sending super chats. Thank you all so much. But I want to get into the nitty gritty of this so that people don't feel like I'm dragging things out. And I'll come back and I'll acknowledge you. Okay. Here are the text messages. So clearly someone was at their desktop. This isn't a screenshot that's formatted via phone. Okay. But these are the text messages that were released. And this is something that his attorney released because they felt like this was going to make him look a bit more innocent. Let's read, and I want to know what you think about it. Yes, I'm going to be asking y'all to vote in the chat. And yes, I'm going to open up the phone lines in a little bit. Okay, let's get into these text messages that were released today. Okay. So on the left-hand side, this is what's coming from the woman. And on the right-hand side, this is what's coming from Jonathan Majors. Now, we zoom in. The woman says, there's no note, just you knowing what happened. He says, did you leave the keys? Then he says, goodbye, blank, because her name hasn't been released yet, right? So here's what she ends up saying to him. Please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. I'm so angry that they did, as in I'm so angry that they arrested you. And I'm sorry you're in this position. I'll make sure that nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Just call me when you're out. I love you. I'm going to read the rest of the text messages in a second, but thus far, put a 1 in the chat if you think that this makes him look innocent, or put a 2 in the chat if you feel like it makes him look not innocent. Put a 3 if you're indifferent. Put a 1 in the chat if you feel like, oh yeah, his attorneys, this was a good idea. They released these texts. They released these text messages, and this proves that he ain't at fault here. Put a 1 in the chat if you think these text messages make him look innocent. Put a 3 if you think they make him look guilty. Put a 2 if you think they make him look guilty. I'm sorry. And put a 3 if you're indifferent and you feel like it doesn't either way. Okay. Let's continue. So she continues and says, lots of votes coming in. Wow, 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 wow. She continues and says, they just called again to check on me, and I reiterated how this was not an attack, and they do not need my blessing, and they do not have my blessing, excuse me. And they do not have my blessing on any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me about strangulation, and I said point blank, this did not occur and should be removed immediately. The judge is definitely going to be told this. She ensured this to me. I know you have the best team and there's nothing to worry about. I just want you to know that I'm doing all I can on my end. I also said to tell the judge to know that the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out, and your worry as my partner due to our communication prior. Out of care, she promised me all will be relayed. Okay. Now, before I get into what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, okay? Shout out to everybody here. I saw Kiva says she's almost at her year anniversary of the membership. Shout out to you for being the sticky. Thank you so much. All right. Also, I rolled my eyes because my soundboard wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. Not at Kiva. Shout out to Peace of Soul for joining the membership. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Also, Astute Queen B rejoined the membership. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that as well. So let's go ahead and get into this. Thank you, Ahmad L, for the $9.99 super sticker or super chat. I do appreciate that. Okay. Now, I see lots of twos in the chat. I don't see any ones, which would say that he's innocent here. Okay. Now, I do see some threes. Okay. But I don't see any ones. I see someone that said 2 and 3. Okay. Right. But okay. I see 1. Let me acknowledge that. Right. I'm not going to lie about the facts or the data. So, Dreaming Ever said, okay, come through, soundboard. Okay. Thank you. All right. All right. Now, before I get into what I'm going to say, right? 1 in the chat if you think he's innocent, if these text messages prove his innocence. 2 in the chat if you think that these text messages prove his guilt. 3 in the chat if you're indifferent to if these text messages prove one or the other. You're stuck in the middle. You don't feel like it really proves one or the other, right? What I'm going to ask for now is a 4 or a 5 from you. Put a 4 in the chat if you've ever been a victim of domestic violence or been in an abusive relationship. Put a 5 in the chat if you have not. This is going to create some texture and some nuance for the way that she's communicating and what she is saying in this text message. This series of text messages, should I say. Not much coming from his end. Not sure if he altered the text. Now, mind you, these are alleged text messages, right? These were given to TMZ. Okay. He could have possibly deleted his messages that he sent. We only see 2 blue bubbles here, right? Now, let's go ahead and start with his, did you leave the keys and goodbye blank? Okay. Please let me know you're okay when you get this. Now, mind you, she was bruised to the extent that she needed to be hospitalized. She had bruises in a few different places. Please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. She's concerned about the outcome of this situation. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me, and they knew we had a fight. We had a fight. I'm so angry that they did this, that they arrested you. I'm sorry you're in this position. She's sorry. She's apologetic. She's concerned. She wants to make sure he is okay. I'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told him it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the spittle. Listen, if you know, you know. Put a 9 in the chat if you know where spittle come from. I only just got out of the spittle. Just call me when you're out. Now, if you've ever been, and some of you who have won, some of y'all with the 9s in the chat, some of you all who watch almost all of my content, you know that I've been there, done that with an abusive relationship. Okay. And it is very common, okay, for victims of domestic violence to care about and try to protect their abusers. They want to know if their abuser is okay. They don't want their abuser to get in trouble or to deal with the accountability or the repercussions or the collateral damage that comes with what they've done. And that's what this sounds like here. So these text messages get released today, and I'm like, this is still very strange. Well, how did she get the bruises? See, because they're saying that she recanted her statement and we have a written statement. Do you know how difficult it is to get a white woman to recant her statement about abuse from anyone, let alone a black man? That was the first inkling for me. While I wasn't speaking out publicly about it, I'm like, how did they get a white woman to recant her statement? A lot of times when you hear about somebody recanting their statement, it implies that there's a payout. Because sometimes people recant their statements because there's a decent amount of money put on the table and or threats. And strong arming. So they released these text messages because they thought that it would make him look better, make him look more innocent. Where did she get the bruises at the police? She had so many bruises that she had to be hospitalized and treated at the hospital. And she's taking fault for reaching for his phone. It's my fault because I reached for your phone. She's trying to make sure he feels better because he has so much, quote unquote, to lose. This is the point in his life where he's popping. Like, this is his surge, his pop. There is nobody that scrolls social media, even if you scroll social media once every 2 days, right? I live on social media. I do, right? Even if you're on there every other day instead of every day, you've seen this man. This was his moment. He only just popped about 3 months ago, despite the fact that he's, been active for quite some time now. And I don't even have to get into the other people who have corroborated the claims of how allegedly aggressive he is and has been on sets at Yale when he studied art and theater, right? She now feels bad because he has to deal with the collateral damage of what has allegedly happened here, right? It's giving very much battered woman syndrome. That's what it's giving. I've been there before. I've been there. I've done that. It's giving abuser's guilt. She feels bad that law enforcement found out about this dispute that they've had. And that's a typical thing when you're in a toxic and abusive relationship. You're like, oh, I don't want to see them get in trouble. And then if and when they get in trouble, they're like, look what you've done. You done got me in trouble because of this, because you started it. When I read this text message, I'm like, oh my God, I've been here before. I've been here before because I have. When my abuser, just real briefly, when my abuser was abusing me, I didn't want to press charges, but I had to call the police based on what he had did to me that day. I mean, like, strangled me around my neck, got me up against the wall. My feet are dangling. Before he strangled me, he dragged me into my own apartment by one leg, right? All this, I mean, I don't even want to go into all that, but long story short, and then he ended up hawk spitting in my face 5 times. And then I had to call the police because I'm like, oh my God, he's going to come back. He's going to rob me. He's going to kill me. He's going to whatever. Call the police. And then I felt bad after the police got there. Do you want to press charges? No. Well, the state picked up the charges. My dumbass, I shows up to the damn court and I'm on his side, not the state side. So the state subpoenaed me. But I decided to say, Judge, just take it easy on him. And the judge, in so many words, gently, right? In so many words, and I'm just summarizing, she essentially called me a battered fool. She called me, he's like, she talking to him and it still gave him his light punishment. But had I not shown up, he would have got him. So so even me trying to protect him in that moment and having a protective order, right, out against him, it's very common for victims to try to not only protect their abusers, to care for their abusers, and then feel guilty for however their victims need to pay for their crimes. Because then they'll call you from jail and say, see, you got me locked up. I got you locked up? No, you got you locked up. You did that to me, right? And so these are the mind games and the gaslighting that happens when you're in an abusive relationship and when you're at a low point in life and you have no confidence and you have no self-esteem, and somehow that's where you are. And that's no shame to nobody, because again, I've been there, right? But the only thing that makes you deal with things like that, well, not the only thing, but you don't value yourself as much as you should. And so listening and reading these text messages and seeing this woman say, oh my goodness, I'm so, please let me know you're okay. I'm like begging your accuser, please talk to me. Please. There are times when your abuser will do things to you and then you'll reach out to them. Are you okay? My abuser didn't have a house outside of me. He was 10 years older than me. You making me homeless. I'm like, but you can't stay here. You put your hands on me. So you just going to make me home. You just going to make me sleep in my car, huh? You're a grown man. You're a decade older than me, right? But they'll play these reverse psychology games and you're stuck in this loop. And they'll put their hands on you or abuse you and then buy you something or do some sweet stuff, love bomb you. You're trauma bonding. That's what these text messages read like. Okay? That's what they read like. So when you read these texts, these don't make him look innocent. She's like, it's my fault that I reached for your phone. So it's reaching for somebody's phone doesn't excuse putting your hands on somebody and abusing them to the extent that paramedics got to show up and you have to be treated at the hospital. And there are visible bruises and injuries. And people who have been in abusive relationships before, if you know, you know. If you're a survivor of domestic violence, if you know, you know. You know? So I've been there, done that. So when I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, this was my mentality about 4.5, 5 years ago. 4.5-ish years ago. And my thing about it is this. Well, you know what? Let's continue reading the second half of this text message again, just to show you the abuser aspect of this. Please let me know. And see, one thing they'll do is they'll abuse you and then they'll ignore you because they know that you're codependent. That's another aspect of being in an abusive relationship. You're codependent and you're like, who else do I have? I need to talk to him, even though he just abused me. My throat is sore. You might have a black eye. Your ankle might be sore. You might have carpet burn because they'd have dragged you across the spot. Please let me know you're okay. You're begging. They play these mind games and they're really good at it. Okay? I'm so angry that they're arresting you. It's your fault. It's your fault as a victim when they have to deal with the consequences of what they've done to you, right? I only just got out the spittle. Just call me when you're out. I love you. They just called again to check on me. And I reiterated how this was not an attack, and they do not have my blessing on pressing charges. So it wasn't an attack. Okay. I read the paper they gave me about the strangulation, and I said point blank, this didn't occur, and I want it to be removed immediately. The judge is definitely going to be told about this. She assured me this. I know you have the best team, and there is nothing to worry about. I just want you to know that I'm doing all I can on my end. She's trying her best to make sure he doesn't have to pay for his sins for doing what he did to her, allegedly. I also said to tell the judge to know that the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out. And your worry as my partner, due to our communication prior, out of care, she promised me it would be relayed. So his attorneys thought that this would be a good idea. Okay. She's more concerned about the collateral damage that her abuser has to endure than herself. And that's typical abuser's guilt. That's typical battered woman syndrome. It is. Yeah, it is. And here's what I say. Okay. Here's what I say about this. Because men only get angrier and angrier. And I'm going to give you a statistic in a second. She'd better leave his ass if she hasn't already. Because if he ever gets his hands on her again, his rage will intensify based on this backlash and impact on his career. It's going to be lethal. It is. It absolutely is. And here's one thing that any single person that has ever worked in the field of domestic violence will tell you. Look it up. When people are treating or talking to people who are dealing or trying to get away from an abuser, if that man has strangled you before, that's something that they want to know, because strangulation is very personal as one of the many forms of abuse. 9 times out of 10, if someone has strangled you, it's one of the key factors that lets them know that they are more than likely going to come back and try to kill you. And anybody who is a counselor, a DV counselor, a first responder, a law enforcement person can tell you, if they've tried to strangle you before, they're going to want to come back. That it's a very personal form of rage. Like whatever it is mentally, whatever it is, it's a personal form of rage. It's kind of like being, watching a show and seeing they stabbed this person 127 times. That's personal, right? Strangulation is a very personal form of abuse. So they're going to want to come back and finish that goddamn job. And I've been strangled before. And I know that man has a switch and a look in his eyes. Eyes get pupil, everything just gets black, a different look, looks like a demon. And I knew I had to get away, but it wasn't easy. Literally, he knew where I lived, he knew where I worked, he knew what I drove. He vandalized the front door to my apartment. Had I not drove away every night, he would have vandalized my car. Crazy, right? But this isn't about me, but this is me letting you know that I have personal experience, and I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people in the chat, because when I asked y'all to put a 4 in the chat if you've ever been in an abusive relationship, and a 5 in the chat if you haven't been in an abusive relationship, for those people who put a 4 in the chat, they know that it's not easy, and that sometimes you coddle your abuser because they've broken you down. Either they broke you down and you were already at a low in life. And so sometimes you want to make sure your abuser is okay. You care for them. You don't want them to pay for their crimes or their actions, because they'll make it seem like it's your fault. They will literally call you collect from the jail and say, you got me put in jail. You got me locked up. Like, no, and you might be sitting on that phone. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. You might not even call the police. The neighbors might have called the police. You got me put in jail. Like, you were the one hitting me, but It's a weird space to be that I pray and I know I'll never go back to. But I'll never deny that I've been there before, because I feel like sharing your testimony is going to help somebody else. And when I look back, I'm like, did I miss some red flags? Maybe. And therefore, I'm not shy about sharing my experience, right? Right. So when I say all this, I'm saying she better leave his ass. Because if they were dealing with regular problems when his career was at a high and there was no price for him to pay based off of his abusive ways, and now he's got all this scrutiny, he's losing deals, he's losing sponsorships, right? He had a commercial with the U.S. Army and they pulled it based on this. He is suffering right now and he's hoping he can win. And they thought the district attorney or the state wasn't going to press those charges, but they did. He's not due back in court until May, but he's angry now. He just rose to the top 2 or so months ago. And here he is being faced with this. Oh, he's angry, baby. You go ahead and get along with him again if you want to. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. And you might not make it out alive. And I'm not saying that to fearmonger or anything like that, but let's keep it a buck. You know, maybe typical abusive relationships, they don't involve people having millions, $250,000 contracts and their very publicized reputation taking a huge nosedive like that. But this fella right here, he clearly already has anger issues. Okay. 500 people here. Thank y'all for hitting the thumbs up button. It means a lot. Let's continue. Okay. Thank you for supporting the stream because it's free. Now, what I want to get into, so much that we need to get into. Okay. Because it's not even making sense how his legal counsel is moving. It's not making sense. Okay. Here's the rhetoric that's extremely harmful to our community, the Black community, is they make excuses. Sometimes, you know, I won't even just say men. Some people, they make excuses when you're trying to hold a Black man accountable, right? And they say, oh, you're trying to tear a Black man down. That's harmful, right? Especially if we're dealing with facts and what we're working with, and what we're working with. It's difficult enough to get some Black men to take accountability. It is. So whenever you're talking about the alleged grievances or allegations against a Black man, and again, they're allegations, but having discussions about the allegations, oh, you trying to tear a Black man down. And this is stuff I've seen because, again, I haven't spoke out on it. I have not spoke out on this until today. But you find plenty of people who say you're trying to tear them down. And it's just like, you know how difficult it is for us to get some Black men to be accountable because they have other Black men making excuses. And then you've got mammies making excuses for them as well, which means that behavior is going to continue. Some Black men, and I can't speak for the white community, and I'm not even about to try to summarize or verbalize whatever they got going on, because baby, this channel was about Black news and celebrity updates. Some of these Black men do have problematic behaviors that people will excuse and look over. They do. Okay. And here's my thought based on the alleged allegations, right? Or allegations, should I say? Someone said it kills me when people defend abusive. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Let's take a step back. Let's take a step back for a second, right? I want to get into the attorney's statement and what they had to say and what they got going on. Okay. So we're going to get into that. And I'm hoping I ain't got to bust Tyra Banks out for y'all to hit the thumbs up, but make sure y'all hit the button. Okay. Okay. Hey, thanks for letting me keep you connected and in the know with what's happening in the Black world. Don't forget to smash on that like button for support and for more Black news. So, All right, let me get into this statement. Switch this screen right here and share this app, because here's what didn't set. Here's what made me feel like, is he guilty? They're not really like, they're not releasing and pleading with the court of public opinion. And I get it. Some people feel like the court of public opinion doesn't matter. All that matters is the court of law. When they get into the court of law, that's all that matters. And that's not necessarily true. And I know that's not what people want to hear. That's not what people want to hear, right? But it is true, all right? So let's get into a portion of what his spokesperson said and what his attorney said. And I'm going to share with you the points within this that kind of let me know that he's not as innocent as his attorneys are making it seem as though he is. Okay? So, Jonathan Majors is completely innocent, his attorney says. We are quickly gathering and presenting evidence to the district attorney with the expectation that all charges will be dropped imminently. This was Sunday they released this statement. They said the evidence includes video footage from the vehicle where the alleged assault occurred, witness testimony from the driver and others who both saw and heard the alleged incident, and most importantly, 2 written statements from the woman recanting these allegations. The New York Police Department is required to make an arrest in these situations, and this is the only reason that Mr. Majors was arrested. We expect these charges to be dropped soon. Now, I felt like it was kind of like red flaggy-ish, because it's like, if you had this footage, why not release it? Your reputation. This is a very poignant, pivotal, and important part, right? An explosive moment within your career. You're just now getting that mainstream push. I couldn't avoid this man on social media if I wanted to, okay? For numerous different reasons. The magazines and people talking about, are you gender fluid? Are you hetero? Are you, you know, the lips, the roles, Creed 3. It's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. And when it comes to the court of public opinion and you're already losing endorsements or contracts or sponsorships, deals, whatever you want to call it, the court of public opinion does matter. You might not think it does, and you might say it's silly to plead with the public, but baby, the public got power. If enough people start tweeting at ABC, at Marvel, at whatever studios, and that outcry is enough, that is at Marvel. Oh, you side with abusers, huh? Right? Imagine 8,000 people a day tweeting that. Marvel is going to feel the pressure, and they're going to feel like their core base is going to lose support, and therefore they're going to part ways with you. That's the power. And it's a good and bad thing, right? It's a double-edged sword for sure. Catch-22 indeed. But the court of public opinion does have power. And then we're talking about your reputation at the very least. Even if you are found innocent in the court of law, by the time it goes all the way through, which may take years, key and point, and Meg Thee Stallion or whatever. How long has it been? A decade since he allegedly shot her child. And we just, once that stain as a Black man, once that stigma is on you, it's very difficult to remove it, even if the court of law exonerates you. The feds were investigating Michael Jackson for 10 years. They found nothing. They found him innocent. But that stigma and people want to say about what he did to children, it's still there. And so the need to clear your name is very important. So I say all that to say this. Why not release the footages? Why not release the statements? You're saying you have 2 written statements from the woman. Well, where are the statements? Why won't she? At what point does a white woman get abused and battered by a Black man, and she's ducking and dodging cameras and won't do an interview, crying to make a victim out of herself? In what world does that happen? Don't worry, I'll wait. In what world does a white woman come forward and say, he put his hands on me, look at these bruises, this is what happens, and she recants her story? In what world does that happen? Don't worry, I'll wait. Like I said before, I feel like you got to look at everybody with a grain of salt right here, because nobody's telling the truth. And for anybody to take his attorney's statements at face value, I want you to take a step back and have a come to Jesus moment. If you don't believe in Jesus, take a come to the universe moment, baby. Because their job is to create and publicize these very strong opinions, right? And pieces that are going to make their client look innocent. That's their job. So when people took the attorney statement and said, "Oh, well, he's innocent," because the attorney said that the woman recounted, and they ain't published the statements. They claim they got footages. Maybe where's the footages? Who was that man that recently at the hotel? I think he was a sports anchor, and a hotel employee said that he did something inappropriate. Michael Irvin said he did something inappropriate. His reputation was on the line, and he started getting a little bit of penalization from this alleged encounter, because this woman spoke up and said that he did something. Baby, do you know his team went and pulled that hotel footage so fast and released it to the public, and we saw that he ain't do nothing. He was just a little tipsy, because you saw he was wobbling, but he didn't touch that woman inappropriately or anything. Because that, as a Black man, the duty to make sure your reputation stays clean, and that stigma of somebody accusing you of some bogusness when you know you ain't done nothing wrong, you don't have to wait till you get to the court of law, which could take months, which could take years to clear and deal with all the collateral damage in the interim. You don't wait for all that to happen. You're going to put it out as a slam, like, boom, you were lying. Here's the footage. Let's go. Not like, oh, I'm going to keep all the evidence to myself and just wait till we get to court and let everybody think that I'm an abusive. Black men can't take that risk. Hello? I made this comment somewhere on somebody's community tab, and someone's like, do you not understand how the court of law works? They're not pulling these things out until they get to court. You clearly ain't Black, okay? As a Black man, when somebody accuses you of physical abuse, strangulation, rape, whatever the case is, you're going to deal with the court of public opinion as you deal with the court of law. And there is nothing wrong with publishing evidence that is going to prove you to be innocent, so that the court of public opinion ain't ruining your name, your reputation, your sponsorships, your money, your trustworthiness as you continue to go and get other jobs and things. Let's keep it a buck. Why are we playing dumb? So if you really, according to his attorneys, had this footage, had these statements from the Uber, the taxi driver, had this statement of the woman recanting her story, 2 statements of her recant. We ain't seen the statements. The woman is in hiding. At the very least, why hasn't the woman come out and said, you know what, I lied, I was wrong? Maybe it's because we'll read her body language. At the very least, why haven't we even seen her written statements? But at the end of the day, I totally understand what you're doing as attorneys. You're making your clients seem innocent, right? Right. Okay. Let's move on to the next point that I'm going to make. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drop the link for anybody who wants to call in as I get into this last slide, because I really want to know what you think. And like I said, even if you don't agree, that's perfectly fine. Okay. But I do want to have a dialogue, and I want to see how other people feel about this situation, because like I said, I mean, it's been so polarizing. It's not even funny. Like, these conversations are have been a little out of control, to be completely honest. But today was the day. Today was the day when I said, you know what? As far as what I'm willing to say publicly, I won't say I'm straddling the fence, but I don't have enough evidence here or there. I don't. So I'm gonna just stay quiet until until I have more. But these text messages, they not helping. It's not the flex that they thought it was at all. Okay? At all. And that's why I said, this is how I'm looking at all three sides. Hers, right? Jonathan Majors, as well as the attorney. All of y'all, everybody's story just seem a little, okay? Everybody's story seems a little bit like that to me, right? And that's my opinion, right? And I'm curious to know what you think. Be sure you comment down below on the video, whether you're right here live on the bus or if you're chasing the bus, which means you're catching the replay. Comment down below in the comments. Okay, so I have one more slide that I'm going to get into. Not much on this slide at all, to be completely honest with you. But let's go ahead and read it because it does add some texture and some nuance to this conversation, or some context, should I say. Okay. In a statement to ABC News, a spokesperson for Majors denied any wrongdoing by the actor. They say, quote, "He's done nothing wrong. We look forward to clearing his name and clearing this up," end quote. He was charged with 2 misdemeanor counts of third-degree assault, second-degree aggravated harassment, and second-degree harassment and third-degree attempted assault. So he appeared briefly in court where a judge released him on his own recognizance. So his next court date is May 8th. And we know as Black people, you can't be waiting months in order to get, if you have something to shove in the court of public opinion's face to get people to rally for you and to keep your contracts and your job and your livelihood and your reputation, that's what you're going to do. Shout out to Jasmine Smith for joining the membership. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay. So we do have a couple of callers backstage. I've pretty much shared the majority of what I think. Now it's time that we open the floor and I share my platform with you all. This isn't just my platform. It's y'all's platform to sound off. So we've got a couple of callers lined up. Okay. So we're going to let them up, drop some pancakes down below in the chat. If you're a channel member, drop your special emojis, and let's get into our callers right after this.
Get into this Black-owned business, Stickies. It's got things for inside your home, outside your home, and even on the go. JasmineMadeIt.com is your new destination for Black Girl Magic mugs, tumblers, and even wine glasses. You can even customize the tumblers and wine glasses. There's a lot going on for a low price over at JasmineMadeIt.com. And if you've been serious about wanting to support more Black-owned businesses, here's your chance. Let JasmineMadeIt.com handle all your problems for family and friends. You ever had a friend over and they just wasn't catching the hint or paying the rent?
Y'all asses all get to stepping.
Yeah, tell them to get to stepping with this nostalgic Martin-themed doormat, and shop over a dozen different doormat designs over on JasmineMadeIt.com. All right, Stickies, you know what time it is. It's time to put your money where your mouth is and shop Black today. Make life easier for you and your household by taking your family's hot or cold beverages on the go with one of these unique tumblers. It's insulated to keep your beverage at temperature, and it comes with a few different reusable straws and even the specific brush that you need to wash it so you can keep it sanitized and germ-free. They've got all kinds of designs to match your mood or style. So grab something for your wife, the hubby, or even the kids over on JasmineMadeIt.com. That's JasmineMadeIt.com, and I'll see you over there.
All right, and so this is my cup. Don't forget to use code Jane for 10% off of JasmineMadeIt.com. I love this cup for both hot and cold beverages. Now we need to get into our callers who are backstage. First of all, shout out to Annie Clark, RN. Thank you for the $20 super chat. Says, I love your commentary. Great job. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. And I appreciate your viewership and support. So let's get into Okay, E is our first caller. Dream and Edmund is our second caller, and we're just gonna we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get into it. Hello, E. Thank you for calling in. You're live on the air. What are your thoughts?
Hi, PLAINESTjane. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. What do you think about Jonathan Majors in this entire sticky situation?
Oh, he needs to be under the jail. And before I get into my opinion, I want to tell you about an experience I just had in this chat because when you said something, because a lot of the commentary is very, it can be triggering. I know it's a sensitive topic, but when you said how hard we have to fight to get just a few Black men to take accountability and how they accuse women who come forward and share their experience and try to hold these people accountable with the law, how they say, oh, you're tearing down a Black man. Let me tell you, Jane, and I've been subscribed to you for a while. I love your commentary. I think you're very articulate, and I love your commentary on R. Kelly. That's what you keep me up at night, and I love it. But I hashtag in the chat, lock up the Black Kings, hashtag tear them down. And the moderators, it's two in particular, I won't say their name here, I'll send you the information backstage. They removed my comment. They put me in timeout, and they told me I was promoting violence. And they said that I was tearing down Black men. And when we're talking about a topic regarding violence against women, and I can't say that the men need to be locked up, and I can't say that the men need to be torn down. Those two minds are doing exactly what the media is doing to that woman. Because I was on the Shade Room when that woman came out, and they had all of those stories about how she was so nasty to other people. They villainized this woman, just like they did to Megan Thee Stallion when that whole thing with not Lorenz Tate. What is this man's name? The little one.
Tory.
Who's in jail right now for what he did to Megan. Tory, yes. When women come forward and we speak up, they villainize us. They bring up our past. We get on trial. And the most important thing is that our rights were taken away. I believe this person has been arrogant and abusive. And I'm talking about Majors. I believe he's been this way for a long time. And I feel like he just got caught. And everything that happens in the dark comes to the light. And I want all women, because I've been in an abusive relationship as well. So a man has threatened to take my life. And I've been in an abusive relationship. And so I know how hard it is to try to get your strength back. And I know what it's like to have, his whole family and his friends all intimidating you to try to warp your sense of reality and make it your fault. I know what that's like, but that's why I'm so tough on it, because we need to normalize getting out of these situations and getting help. And if we can't get help from our community, then that's what the criminal justice system is for. It's not ideal that we have to travel outside of the Black community in order to seek refuge, but this is the culture. We coddle these men, we forgive them easily, then we forgive women, and we're quick to say, well, what did you say to him? And, men have triggers too. Like, we're so quick to do that. And no, sometimes when men have done something wrong, they shouldn't be allowed to forget, because when they forget, they have the propensity to do it again.
Got you. That makes sense. When they forget, or
we forgive too quickly.
Remind them, you don't hold them accountable. They do become repeat offenders because they fall into a pattern, and they think it's okay to badger you in any way, whether it be physical, emotional, psychological, whatever the case is. So, accountability is key. And I say this all the time on my channel. Accountability is not an attack. Accountability, you know what I mean? So whether accountability is me pulling you up and telling you about yourself, maybe if it's not physical, if accountability is you going to jail, that's not me attacking you. But a lot of times they take it that way because it's that childish, immature, let me put off responsibility. I'm in jail because I put my hands on her. But let me tell her that she got me put in jail, right? And that it's her fault that I'm dealing with these consequences. In my case, he lived with me and he didn't have shit else. And I'm 10 years younger than him. Oh, it's your fault I'm homeless. It's your fault I'm sleeping in the car. It's like, no, it's not my fault. But like, you gotta go. Like, I can't do this anymore. You're driving me nuts. So that's a good point.
Yeah, and before you drop me, one last thing. Um, I feel like, because I see some women in the chat and I saw one person say women need to stick together, and that is so true. That is so true. And when we're having these discussions, I don't want it to boomerang and hit all men, because I saw some men say, well, that's not all men. I'm not talking about all men. I'm talking about the men who have done this. And the truth for me is that if the good men in this world who don't do that, if they really stood up and held those bad apples accountable, then women wouldn't have to go so hard. It wouldn't seem like we're talking about all bad men. If men came to the forefront, took their place in society and said, you know what, we got this, ladies. We'll take care of this. Because if men police men the same way they police women, we wouldn't have these problems.
Oh, good point. You know what, ma'am. If men policed men the way they police women, we would be in a different place. That's a really good point. And ma'am, I'm going to steal that point. I'm going to steal that talking point, and I'm letting you know right now. It's a really good point, because coming from us, it's they nagging, they bitching, they this, they that, and the third. But, it's true. I think that it is important when we had these conversations to say some, not all. Because if they don't hear the some, and you got to report the some and not all. Some men, not all men. So on is, you have to, I feel like for me, when I have the conversation, I say it several times, because if you just say it once, they might miss it. Oh, you saying all men. I never said all men. I said some. I said not all, because there are some upstanding men in a great amount of upstanding men actually in our community. The difference is they're very vocal about picking women apart. But they're silent about holding their brethren accountable. Yes, they are. That's a really good point.
Thank you for having me, Jane. I appreciate you letting me speak my point, and I love your channel. And I'll go back to the chat. Thank you so much for having me up.
No problem. Thank you for calling in.
Bye.
Bye. All right, let's get to our next caller. Dreaming Edmund, what is going on? Thank you for calling in. You're live on the air. Shout out to you, because I know you be in the Discord and everything like that.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Miss Jane, you look absolutely immaculate. Ethereal, if I'm being honest.
Thanks. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about this whole? This is a whole sticky, nasty, messy debacle, and I feel like we weren't fed the truth and all of the facts. It definitely seemed like there was a lot being hidden from us in the beginning. The more like we got a different breadcrumb of information of okay, this happened. He's been released. She's recanted.
Right.
We got footage. We got statements from it just seemed weird. What are your thoughts about it?
A lot of social media gymnastics, what I call it. I think when I first heard the story, obviously I try not to be, I as a domestic violence survivor myself, I'm one of those people, I believe the victim first, because I know exactly what it feels like to be the victim, and no one believes you, no one stands up for you. People, don't want to believe it. So I totally get that. So I don't count that little person out immediately. It has nothing to do with his size. I mean, granted, I don't know what a woman looks like, so I don't want to say that, oh, he's just so big, because she could be big too. We don't know that. She could be working out, one of those workout women too as well. So I don't know. However, I noticed immediately, and somebody pointed this out on Twitter for a while too, when y'all were talking, not y'all, when I say y'all, I mean other people, obviously, but all types of slurs, all types of, what kind of man is this, right? And everybody tried to defend him. If you try to defend him, oh, you like feminine men. It was crazy, right? Yeah. So a story comes out about him possibly doing something that statistically is most reported, at least, men do in situation of domestic violence, which is be the aggressor, allegedly. And this is just based off of statistics. Everybody's like, oh, the black man. Oh my God. Oh, everybody, let's get our capes, please. Let's get our capes. Let's go save this man. But y'all, that just tripped me out immediately. But what made me initially believe what was going on and look at it sideways was the fact of the conflicting reports. I didn't just look at TMZ. There's a problem with people. Everybody looked at one source and was like, oh, that's it. Like you said, that's it. That's that source. The source said this. TMZ knows everything. And I get that TMZ sometimes, most times, is known to be credible about getting it right before everybody else knows. But they're also known for jumping the gun sometimes, too. Just like any other media outlet. So I looked at other places. I looked at Media Takeout. I looked at so many other places that were talking about this situation. And some of them were calling her the girlfriend. Some of them were calling her the woman he doesn't know. Someone was calling her some woman he know of, And allegedly, this guy, I have it pulled up right here, actually, because I came with some receipts. Tim Nicolai, I don't know if that's his name. I think he's a producer of some sort, or he worked with Majors, or he went to school with him. One of those scenarios. He called him out in a tweet.
Yes.
Prior
a
to
couple
this,
months ago, but without a name, right?
Exactly. Yep. And we didn't know who he was talking about, and then boom, this happens. And everybody don't want to acknowledge that happened. And classmates even said the same thing about him. So I know how stories spin. I know, especially after we watched Megan Thee Stallion situation, everybody likes to reference that, but it's true. Like, we saw what happened. She said, y'all say, put a name to a story, then y'all get mad. Y'all did the same thing with Cheryl. What Miss Cheryl, what's her last name? I can't remember her last name right now. Cheryl something. Just won a Grammy for the first time, or Oscar, I think it was.
Oh, the stepmom from Oisha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They did the same thing to her. She didn't even put a name to it. And everybody's blaming her for trying to bring down another black man.
Yep.
And she didn't even tell you who it was.
Right. And he talking about suing. I'm like,
come on now. And they telling themselves, and it's not, and again, we shouldn't have to say this because it should be given. It should be literally implied that it's not all of it. And we know, we get it. Women do it too. I promise y'all, we know. Like, I'm an advocate for all victims. But I think it's so sick how this is happening. And then reading that text message, when I first read it this morning, it made me freaking cry because when I tell you I've verbatim done that before.
Yep.
Done that before.
Yep.
Textbook. Got it. I knew exactly where she was going with that. And people are like, it's not enough. It's not enough. To me, that tells me a lot about the relationship automatically. Because, I mean, like, I get that he can totally erase stuff and whatever. But that told me a lot about him and a lot about her. And especially about him because of how the media is trying to spin it on her only. First, she was a psycho patient that he didn't know. Then she only went to the hospital for mental health stuff. But evidently she didn't. So there's so many lies, right? Y'all want to hold Megan Thee Stallion accountable for all her lies she told initially, right? So why can't we do the same thing with him and his team?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's be for real. And I saw men online saying, oh, well, y'all want us to hold other men accountable, but what another man does has nothing to do with me. Yes, it does. Because y'all tell us the same thing. Oh, birds who flock together are the same type of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not abusing your brother, your friend, your homeboy is abusing, you need to call him out on his crap. Just like exactly. I tell us to.
And I think it would mean more. I feel like when guys talk to guys, it holds more weight than
because they listen
than what we right. And it could possibly be the same for homegirls too. And I mean, and that's whether you're in a relationship or not, whether it be a marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, situationship, whatever. If you got somebody that's living your experience, woman to woman, man to man, who is holding you accountable, like that it's a different type of problem, as opposed to you blaming it on, man, they just nagging. If my guy comes to me and says something, I'm just like, he nagging because that's what men do, or what. But if it's another woman that comes to me and tells me, hey, Jane, you might need to don't do that. And I've had I have a really good friend who I vent about my relationship, and she's like, Jane, that's not cool. Like, and we'll do, because we just be talking and and that's what friendships and relationships are about. You got to have more than the person you're in a relationship holding you accountable, because if not, you'll just chalk it up to y'all differences and they just want to have things their way. And that's not how I see it. So it is important to have other people in your friend circle holding you to that standard. But one thing about some, not all, of these men, but a pattern that we see is men do not be holding each other accountable, but they quickly get online and pick women apart. They're quick to do that.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
that's the playing field. And I think also the whole conversation about race, I don't ever like I understand the stigma that, oh, black man snow bunny, that's a bad category. That's a bad category. I want to move. I don't want the situation. I don't think this situation, sorry, should be about that. Like, oh, it's another black man with a snow bunny, what he gets. Because it shouldn't be a gotcha moment about that either. It shouldn't be. We know that happens. I totally understand that. But at the end of the day, now you dehumanize her. Like, and I try to stay out of white people business. I promise, because I'm a black person, live my black life. That's all I do. But at the same time, she's still a human being who didn't ask for that. I don't know. We don't know what the situation was, obviously. But in my eyes, victim to victim, she didn't ask. I'm pretty sure she didn't ask for that. And she clearly trying to fix it. And that shows me so much, a little bit about her character, a little bit, that she probably needs more help than to sit there and be called a snow bunny and just be dumbed down to just that. She's a human being going through something.
I agree. The difference in nuance here, because not to say it's a case by case basis.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in when sometimes black women take the stance of, understandably, take the stance of, black women, it's not our fight, right?
Right, absolutely.
Case in point, and I'm not saying that that's the case here necessarily. Case in point, Christian Toby Obum Sully.
Mm-hmm.
You remember him? Does that name ring a bell?
Yes, kind of, sort of.
Okay, so this was the guy who talked, black guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talked shit about black women all day. They ghetto, their hair, black. I mean, it's just all types of insults up and down his social media. He hated black women and only dated whites. Well, guess who killed him?
Oh, yes, I remember that. Yep, in Florida.
And,
I think
in that case, you've explicitly expressed your hatred towards and about us. Why should we get in the middle of the street to march for you? We start creating videos advocating for you and creating awareness about how wrong this is and how this white girl might get off for this because she's utilizing the Baker Act to play crazy or plead insanity or whatever the case is. Oh, no. That is not our fight, because you
absolutely
know that you hate us. Not even just 2 comments where, does he like us? Does he being critical of black women? Like, no, his tweets were out of this world, the hatred that he exuded for and about us. Oh, no. That's not our fight. And sometimes we are expected to fight and advocate for any and everybody because we're so powerful, because we talk about like activists and things of that nature. A lot of times the people making the progress, the people who are resilient enough to get up every day and keep a name alive or keep or whatever, it's black women, and we're expected to do it for any and everybody despite how much they spite us. Oh, no, not our fight, right? So it's a case by case basis. Now, he dates white women. He, some people call them swirlers, right? You swirl chocolate and vanilla, swirl. That's a quote from Orange is the New Black from a while ago.
Right, yeah.
If you're a swirler, you're a swirler. Now, if you've expressed hate towards and about black women and you prefer whites over us, and you let us know that we are not, qualified to deal with you, and you have an unfortunate situation at the hands of or whatever dealing with a woman of no color, oh baby, that's not our fight, right?
Yeah.
So I to my knowledge, nothing has been brought up about him hating black women. And if it is, somebody let me know, but I haven't seen anything like that. I just know that he's dating a white woman now. So I'm not bringing color into it in that aspect. The only aspect that I'm bringing color into is, how do you get a white woman to recant her statement?
That is true.
How do you get a white woman to be the victim of violence at the hands of a black man, and she's hiding and she won't come out and say he did this to me or he didn't do this to me? There is something strange about that, considering the privilege that she was born with. It's weird. It's eerie. And that's why, like I said, Spider-Man meme all day. I don't believe any of you fully, completely, but these text messages, they speak volumes, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay. Period. I personally think that it's like, because I mean, me going to where I felt like when in those positions I was in, it like, even though technically in my situation we weren't both we both kind of equal amount of power, but because he had basically more like seniority over me, that's where the power play came into part. But at the same time, it was really interesting, rank situation with our military. I know for sure that because they were trying to do new programs to report stuff like this, that we should be able to come forward and talk about this stuff. And there's so many places, there's so many steps to get to that point. They're supposed to support you. But because I knew that he had such a great rapport with the rank within the ranks, I knew that no one was going to believe me. They didn't believe me when I did tell them. So I think with this situation with him is different from Chris Brown, because Chris Brown, he kind of gave us, it's like if he did something crazy now, we know we kind of expect that from him, and that it's part of his MO, right? But with Jonathan Major, beside these reports that's been coming forward, we don't know much about this man. We don't know a good report about him. We don't know his MO at all. We just kind of reintroducing ourselves to him, mainstream at least.
Right.
So it could be very much one of those situations where she's like, I'm not going to win this battle if I try to go through with it. I'm going to lose him. The abuser, the codependency kicks in, and I'm going to lose this battle, and I'm going to make him angry, and I don't want to make him angry. Yeah. Because like you said, he's going to come after her. And I think that with Marvel being so Marvel and all these other little shows being invested in him, they're not going to just go like fly like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think they're going to just do that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Some people,
and that's what scares me.
Some people saying Marvel equals money in the chat, and of course it does. And some people mean it in the sense that got that Marvel money, they're going to make you shut up. And some people mean it in the sense of they got that Marvel money, they trying to tear him down, right? Or I saw somebody in the chat earlier saying he was making too much money at Marvel, so they pinned this on him so that they don't have to pay him. And
y'all Negroes are ignorant, man.
I'm like, okay.
I don't know about that one. I don't think this is like, a lot of people keep using that conspiracy theory that, it's one of those situations where it's like he went too high too fast, and now they got to take him down. The humiliation kink. I don't think it's that. I think we got to stop using conspiracy theories to answer every single thing. People are just bad people,
Right. Some people feel like they're invincible. Either they won't learn, or they haven't learned yet, or they feel like I've been doing this for a certain amount of years and I have the money and the team to cover it up. But I'm like, your counsel clearly hates you, because why would your attorneys release these text messages thinking that this would prove your innocence? If anything, this was the straw that made me lean towards, okay, nigga, you did it. I had a feeling, and I'm not going to go live about a feeling.
Right.
So, you know what? I think he did this, right? Because that could be harmful, because we don't have all the facts, because they're not giving us the facts. They're giving us contrived statements. But your attorneys clearly hate you, or they're graduating from middle school this year.
Okay. I was like, they thought they ate with this one?
Nah, right. It's not the flex you thought it was at all.
Not.
At all. I'm shocked. I'm appalled. I don't know if they working with somebody here. Leo, you want to have a treat?
And two last things. Number one, I think we have to look at all those crime shows we watch, and even still, like you can go back to Power, you can go back to How to Get Away with Murder, how the behind the scenes they work when it comes to changing and spinning these stories to make the person look crazy, paying people off, telling people to shut up. Like, there's so much that we watch these shows, and we as characters, obviously there's fictional characters, but we see what happens behind the scenes. That stuff, it didn't just come out of nowhere. It came from somewhere. It's inspired by something, right? This stuff happens in real life. I would not be surprised if she gets paid off. I wouldn't be surprised they make her disappear. I wouldn't be surprised that if she comes for him like he never did anything. They try to do the power couple move and start, taking pictures together. I would not be surprised, because they at this point they're trying to save his career that just kind of kicked off. Number one. Number two, he's being invested into right now. A big investment at that.
Yep.
And number three, he not trying to stop his bag. Point blank, period. So if that means getting rid of her, shutting her up, doing whatever to make her be okay, be quiet, if that means medicating her, pulling a blue face, he will. And if it comes out that he's innocent, which I really kind of doubt, and my gut don't tell me that, then okay, he's innocent, and then we just got to do the damage control after that. But clearly, he needs to hire another team for that one. And the last thing is abusers don't have a face. They don't have a walk. They don't have a talk. They don't have a personality. There is no way to prevent abuse. There's no way to point out an abuser in a room full of crowded people. We don't know. So stop saying that, oh, he looks horrible. He seems horrible. He seems charming. Serial killers. Ted Bundy. If you don't remember no other serial killer that was supposed to be so-called charming, Ted Bundy was charming, apparently. And was still killing people and everything.
Yeah, a lot of times that's what allows them to do it so often.
Exactly.
They find a way to be charming, whether it be their looks, the way they woo you, the way they talk to you, you know, and engage with you, love bombing, trauma bonding. They utilize those tactics that come off as not dangerous at all. Like, you can trust me. I've been through stuff. Oh, you've been through stuff? Me too. And
right.
So yeah, absolutely. It doesn't have a look. It doesn't have a look.
It doesn't.
Know, when you go back and look at your red flags, though, sometimes you know, like because we've been there before. Have you ever? I go back sometimes and I reimagine, and I just imagine his face, and I'm like, yeah, he looked like he would have. But I'm biased because he didn't already done it, right?
Yeah,
he looked like he would have done that to me. But there were a couple times where he lost his cool about other things, and I feel like that was a red flag that I missed. But it wasn't necessarily the look of him. It was the look of rage when certain things would click in his mind.
There it is.
It was that look, and his eyes would be different when he was in that mode. That's the look, not necessarily his aesthetic, his nose, his body, or his build. No, the look in his eye. You know, you can, when people are happy or regular, they're whatever. But when they've no different than Jaguar Wright. Jaguar Wright has beautiful skin. Right? She has the capability of being beautiful, but when she's going through them different personalities that she has, you can see she's got this different look to her when she's in this different narcissistic abusive mode. And it might not be physically abusive, but it's definitely psychological and manipulative and emotional and all that other stuff. So the look is not so much physical. It's more about really seeing and reading people's spirits and body languages.
Exactly. What should they say? What should they joke about? Because honestly, my abuser, he was quiet type, but he was I call him the quiet storm because he's quiet and then he'll just snap. And then he knows how to play his role in front of people, make me look crazy. And then, so I just, I was telling people, people were saying that, oh, he don't look, y'all don't know. Just like a woman, y'all think that because women can't beat a man because she's small. Okay. And that's all I have to say. But to all the domestic violence survivors and heroes and warriors, whatever you want to call you, don't have to be strong. You're still healing. Take your time. To people who don't think that this stuff exists, it exists. Man, woman, child, it does not matter. And you aren't alone, and use your resources. And if you feel like you can't leave, you got to develop a plan, number one. And number two, find somebody you trust. And number three, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right the first time. You can't half step it. If you're going to leave, you got to leave.
Yep.
Or you'll never get out of it.
Yeah.
And thank you.
It is true. No problem. Thank you for coming up. I know you've called in before, and I really enjoyed talking to you. We'll chat it up in the Discord, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Y'all become a member now. Come on now and pay that fare. Stop playing with her. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Yes, the membership is lit. Thank you for calling in. I will talk to you soon. Listen, do I have any moderators? I got another caller back here that I'm about to bring up. Misha, we're about to bring her up. If I have any moderators who can find any resources to domestic violence resources, hotlines, phone numbers, websites, can anybody just check on that really quick for me and maybe place it in the chat a couple times? I realize this can be a triggering conversations. I've been triggered a couple times. We've been on here for an hour and 25 minutes. I've been triggered a couple times, held back tears twice. So if there's anybody that's listening that resonates with this, if you're in a situation that you feel like you're trapped, because sometimes getting out of an abusive relationship, it's not easy. And it's not just a decision or a move or a play you can make in one day. Just like the last caller just said, you have to plan it, you know? It can be hard. It's so hard. And I know firsthand, it's hard. You have to make a plan. If I have any moderators who can find some resources to domestic violence survivors or people who are going through it right now. If you could find a hotline or a crisis number, if you would please put it in the chat. And I would really appreciate that if any of my moderators could do so. Okay. We're going to get into our next caller. Make sure y'all hit thumbs up. Did you hit thumbs up yet? I had to get Leo in here to try to, balance the mood a little bit. I know y'all love my boy. So I brought him in here to kind of lighten things up. There's not a lot of room for me to tell a whole bunch of jokes, but I still need y'all to hit thumbs up. Okay? I need y'all to hit thumbs up.
Leo, get down. Get down. It's not a thank you, because it's not a question.
Because why do he be cussing at me like that? Why do he be cussing at me like that? Someone said, make a plan, just leave. Do you think it's that simple for people? No, like, honest question. Do you think it's that simple for people who have lives and they live with their abusers to just get up and leave their credit on the line and leave their home? You need to make a plan. And clearly, Jihad Bell, you've never been through what the hell we're discussing. It's not as simple as just leave, let alone if you've got kids or it's somewhere you live and they know where you work. See, because you can leave where you live. But when they know where you work and they show up at your job or flatten your tires every day because they knew, so you've got to leave that day and then find another job and go live with somebody else and do whatever other kids. It's not that simple. Please save your ignorance for somebody else, because baby, we don't got the fucking time. It's a lot of people here who have been through shit that you're ignorantly and haphazardly just placing shit in the chat. Connect your brain with your mouth before you come over here and speak about some dumb shit, because it's never that simple. Plug it up. Something came unplugged in you. And get it right or get the fuck out my chat. This is a safe haven. There are people here who have been through shit. And you think it's as simple as coming up and walking up to people who have experienced shit that you don't know about. And you're like, 1 + 1 = 2. Do it, bitch. It's not that simple. Say one more thing off code and moderators block their ass, because I don't have time for this shit. Because you can do it haphazardly if you like. But if and when they find you at your job while you're still collecting that last check and working your job, it can cost you your life. It can cost you your kid's life. Have you seen how many people recently who have been killing their own kids because they're trying to get back at their baby mama? Yeah. They mad because the baby mama broke up with them. And when it's their turn for custody, the parents turns around on Facebook Live and kills the kids to make the mama upset. It's not that simple. Somebody that live in their mama basement over here talking about just leave. How about you leave your mama's basement? How about that? It should be that simple, right? Because you sound extremely inexperienced, naive, and ignorant as hell. Just leave. How about you make a plan and you just fucking leave my chat? How about that? How about you just leave this chat, since you don't understand what this sisterhood is about and the things that we're discussing here? Now, I'm going to bring it down. You can bring it down. We've got another caller that's going to call into the show. I'm going to give myself 120 seconds to bring it back down. See, I ain't went off on a caller, and I haven't went off on a commenter in a very long time because I've been working on myself. Okay. So I'm going to bring it down, and we're going to get into our last caller for the evening. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the support. I apologize for going off. Sometimes ignorance, nice words and explanations, they don't work. So hit thumbs up, drop some pancakes in the chat. We'll be right back. We're going to get into our last caller this evening. All right.
But that's it. If you want to catch more of my commentary on Black culture or vital and trending information, be sure to subscribe by hitting that little circle in the middle of the screen, or I'll catch you in one of these rectangles to the right in another video. I'll see you there.